Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to cover how to get your project into Git, or rather how to get Git working with your machine so that we can get a Statamic project into a version control system, which allows us to save our code in different states so we can roll things back if we make a mistake. And also it allows us to push up and retrieve down between our local environment and our production environment where the real site is located on our server. So I'm going to cover doing this using something called Bitbucket. You can also store your work on GitHub. I would say these are probably two of the most popular services to store your repositories in. So what you'll need to do is you'll need to set up your own Bitbucket account. If you go to Bitbucket, create an account. And once you've got through that process, you'll be on this main dashboard. And one of the difficult things of getting Git set up is to authorize your machine so that you can securely and easily push your code up or pull code down. So in order to do this, we need to add what's called an SSH key to our machine, and then add this key to Bitbucket so that Bitbucket can communicate securely with our machine. SSH stands for Secure Shell, and it's just one of those technologies that are used to push things around in a secure way. So once you've got your Bitbucket dashboards up like I have here, it'll probably default to something like your repository view, but what you need to do is go in the left hand corner where you've got your profile and settings, and then click into personal settings. Then we need to go to SSH keys, and you can see I've already got an existing key on here, and this is from when I had Catalina installed, which was the previous operating system. I'm now on a clean install of Big Sur, so I'm going to delete this because it's no longer needed. That installation's gone. So this is what yours will look like if you've never done this before. And the first thing we're going to do is generate an SSH key on our machine. So I find the GitHub instructions a bit easier to follow. If you search for generate a new SSH key in Google, and it should be the first one, which is a GitHub document, which looks like this. So we're going to follow these instructions, generating a new SSH key. Open terminal. So if you don't already have terminal open, you can find it using Spotlight. So I'm going to go to terminal, make the text a bit bigger so you can see. And then it says paste the text below, substitute in your GitHub email address, paste this in here. And I'm going to overwrite this with my GitHub email address. So you should get something like generating key pair, which it says you should get here as well. And then it says enter file in which to save the key. And it says here you should just accept this and press enter. So I'm going to do that. And here it says to enter a passphrase. So this is a security thing. I'm just going to paste mine in. Just remember to make a note of yours if you ever need it in future. And then it should give you a notice saying generating a fingerprint. So now that we've generated that, we can go back to Bitbucket and we're going to add a key. Here we're going to give it a label. So I'm going to call it MacBook 2018 because that's my MacBook. And then I'm going to call it Big Sur. Paste your key here. Don't have a key. I learned how to generate an SSH key. So we've just done that. Already have a key. So we do. Copy and paste your key here. So it gives us a terminal command again. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste it into terminal. And here it says no such file or directory. So what I've done is I've actually just paused the video because this confused me and looked up why this is. I did this by going to Finder and then showing hidden files, which you can do by pressing the keyboard shortcut Command plus Shift plus full stop. So this is without the hidden files and folders. And this is with, then we go into SSH, which you can see is the directory we're going into, and then ID underscore RSA. So you can see ID RSA is not there. Instead it's ID underscore ED and then a number. And I Googled this, and this is actually because it seems to be an upgrade to RSA. So it's like a newer standard. So instead, let's open this. Let's just do text edit for now. And I've just hidden mine for security, but it will be kind of like a load of gobbledygook. So if you copy that and paste it in here, I've just blurred mine out. And then I'm going to say add key. And you can see the key has now been added. So now what we can do is we can push back and forth to Bitbucket. The easiest way to manage things with Bitbucket is to actually install the macOS app called Sourcetree, which is a way of pushing up and down version controlled files to Bitbucket. It's not actually Bitbucket specific, so you can use it with GitHub as well. But because it's owned by Bitbucket, you can automatically add repositories, which makes things a whole lot easier. So I've just typed in download Sourcetree, download this. Just a gotcha here, once you've got Sourcetree in your applications, because it's not like a Mac OS app, you're going to right click and click open, which will prompt you to accept it, basically open. So here we can see optional Bitbucket account. As I say, it makes things a lot easier. So I've clicked Bitbucket Cloud and it's going to get me to authorize this. So yes. And it automatically logs me in, continue. And then it'll offer me all the bookmarks for my projects. So now I have my MacBook and Bitbucket talking back and forth. This means we can commit a project into version control. So as a demo, just to show you how this works, if I go to my repositories on the left and then create repository, I'm just going to call this test and assign it a project, whatever. I'm not going to add a git ignore yet. I'm not going to add anything else. I'm just going to create the repository. So as an example here, I've just got a single folder called my name. And then I've just got an index file. So what I'm going to do is press Command C on this folder, then go to terminal and then say CD, which stands for change directory, and then paste that in. So now we're in this folder, which is this first step here. Now we're going to need to do something just before this step 2. So we're going to say git init, which means initialize. So it says initialized empty git repository in this folder. So the way to see this is if we use the keyboard shortcut to show invisible files and folders, which is Command plus Shift plus full stop. So if I reveal that, we can see now that there is this invisible Git folder, which maps out all the version control stuff. And we're going to add this file to our version history. So I'm just going to say git add, and then space full stop, and then I say git status. And it says I've added this, but I need to commit it now. So git commit. So I've added this file. The full stop means to add everything. We'll do this in a more granular way in future, but just as a demo to show you that this is working, I now say git commit -m, which means message, and say initial commit, enter. Then I add the remote. So I'm adding this repository so we can talk to this repository, paste that, git remote, add origin, the Bitbucket address, and then we push this up. And you can see here it said that the authenticity of the host can't be established. Do you want to continue connecting? I said yes. Then I entered my passphrase, which I talked about earlier, and then hit enter. So now if I refresh this page, we can see that it did push up this index file. And if I go to commits, you can see we've made that initial commit 2 minutes ago. So we've got our computer talking to Bitbucket now, and we're syncing our version controlled repository with the host, which is Bitbucket. So I've actually just paused the video because shortly after I finished recording, I got the dreaded permission denied public key message. And this is when it can't find the authentication. I thought this was weird because, as you saw, we successfully pushed up, no problem. So what I ended up doing is just restarting my computer. And once it started up, the system asked me to save some details in Bitbucket and put in my password. And once I did that, everything was up and running again as normal. So if you do have any problems, it's always worth restarting your computer just to make sure that everything is flushed out and give the operating system a chance to start up properly. If you've never watched the IT Crowds, I encourage you to do so. You know, one of the classic lines in that is,
"Hello, IT? Have you tried turning it off and on again?"
And that is certainly true.